Hello and welcome. If you've ever had that itch to create something with code but had no idea where to even begin, well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're taking that very first step together on a really exciting adventure into the world of programming. We're going to learn how to speak the computer's language. At its heart, learning to code is a lot like learning any new language, but this one's a little different. It's a super powerful tool for solving problems and being creative. It lets you give instructions to a computer and tell it exactly how you want it to tackle challenges, whether that's in business, science, or even art. So, with all the different programming languages out there, where do we start our journey? Well, for most people just starting out, the answer is almost always Python. And trust me, there are some really, really good reasons for that. Python is so popular for a few key reasons. First off, its code reads almost like plain English, which means you can focus on the what you want to do, not the complicated how. Second, it is incredibly versatile. The same language is used to power apps like Instagram, run data analytics for Netflix, and even train AI models. And finally, the community is massive, which means if you ever get stuck, help is just a quick search away. All right, enough talk. It's time to actually do the thing. We're going to gear up for our quest and cast our very first spell. Every single programmer in history started right here with this exact step. And now, it's your turn. Okay, first things first, we need to get our tools ready. We'll start by installing Python itself, and then we'll grab a code editor, something like VS Code, which just makes writing code way easier. Once we add the Python extension to it, we're all set to create our very first file. Think of it like setting up your workshop before a big project. And here it is. This is your very first line of code. It's a simple command called print, and all it does is tell the computer to display whatever text you put inside the parentheses. So go ahead, type this into your hello.py file. This one little command, it's your gateway into a whole new world. And just like that, once you run that file and see your message pop up on the screen, congratulations! Seriously, take a moment and let that sink in. This is a huge deal. You just gave a computer a command, and it did exactly what you told it to do. You are officially a programmer. So now that you've said your first words to the computer, it's time to learn how to make it actually remember things. This is where we start getting into storing and managing information. So how do programs keep track of information? Well, it all comes down to a super important concept called a variable. The best way to think about a variable is like a labeled box. You can put something inside the box, give it a name, and whenever you need what's inside, you just call it by its label. It's the most basic way programs store information. So what kind of stuff can we put in these boxes? Well, there are four main types of data. You've got strings, which are basically just text. You have integers for whole numbers, and floats for numbers that have a decimal point. And then there are booleans, which are super simple. They're just either true or false. The cool thing is, Python is usually smart enough to figure out which type you're using all on its own. Now this right here is a really, really important idea for beginners. The number 10 without quotes and the text 10 with quotes, they might look almost the same to us, but to a computer, they are completely different things. One is a number you can do math with, and the other is just a piece of text, like a word. And this slide breaks that difference down perfectly. On the left, you've got an integer, a number meant for calculations. On the right, a string, which is just a sequence of text characters. You can't ask a computer to add your name to your age, right? It's the same idea here. Okay, but what if you need to store a whole bunch of items together? Python gives us three main ways to do that. A list is your go-to, flexible, changeable collection of stuff. A tuple is kind of like a list, but once you make it, it's locked in. You can't change it. And a dictionary is a bit different. It lets you store data in pairs, like a word and its definition. All right, we know how to store data. Now, for the really cool part, teaching our program how to make its own decisions and do things over and over again. This is what really starts to bring your code to life. So how do we actually do that? How do we give our program a little bit of a brain so it can react differently to different situations? The answer is with what's called conditional logic. By using simple English words like if, elif, which is just short for else if, and else, you can tell your program what to do. It's like saying, hey, if this is true, do this. Else if this other thing is true, do that instead. Otherwise, just do this last thing. It lets your code choose its own path. Now, what if you need to do something 100 times? You're not going to write the same line of code over and over again, right? Of course not. For that, you use a loop. A for loop is perfect for either repeating something a specific number of times or for going through every single item in a list one by one. It's the absolute key to automation. And there you have it. Variables to store your data, conditional logic to make decisions, and loops to do repetitive stuff. These three things are the fundamental building blocks of pretty much every program ever written. Your real journey starts right now. Now let's see how it all comes together in a simple, complete program. Here, we're using a list to hold some numbers, a for loop to check each one, and an if-else statement to figure out if that number is even or odd. See that? You already understand every single piece you need to build this yourself. You now have the fundamental tools of creation for the digital world. You've seen how they fit together to solve a simple problem. So the only question left is, what will you build first?